Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Career Networking webinar. My name is Chris Miller. I am the Washington State University Global Campus Career Advisor. Thank you for joining tonight. If you have any questions during the presentation, you can go ahead and use the chat box to enter those. I will attempt to to address those as they come in. Sometimes I miss them, and I will go back at the end and address them at that point if I do miss any. So thanks again for joining. I would say tonight's webinar, just in terms of timeline, this one is a little bit shorter, I'd say, than some I do. So in that 25 to 30 minute time frame is my guess. That's usually where it's at, and pretty straightforward. So talking about career networking, and if you have questions, put them in the chat box. And again, thank you for joining. Okay. So when I do these career development webinars, I like to start with a little overview of the career development process. This is a pretty decent little snapshot of it. Having these four little quadrants of the circle here. So yellow being the first part, green the second, blue the third, and orange the fourth. Not saying that this is necessarily like a linear step that you need to go through: one, then two, then three, then four. And it's definitely not something that a given individual will just do once in their life. But anytime that you are, gaining interest in a given occupation, losing interest in the work you're doing, maybe your life circumstances are changing and your work values change along with that. So maybe you're interested in different type of benefits or salary, whatever it may be for you. It's something you could revisit at any time. But talking about networking specifically, we are all over this circle here. So in order to network effectively, it's important to know yourself, what you're interested in, what your strengths are. It's important, or it's a tool to use for exploring options. And we'll talk about that. Getting focused. So networking is useful for goal setting and decision making, and also in taking action. It is one of the most effective job search strategies, engaging your network. So all over this career development process snapshot tonight. Some networking basics, just to go over just a basic overview. That's why I said basic twice. Career networking is simply having a conversation with someone for the purpose of exploring careers or job searching. Deciding to network effectively means, while you cannot control things on the hiring side, so like you can't make people interview you, you can't stop an employer from just hiring their friend over you, you can't control the conditions of the job market, but you're in charge of networking to the degree that you can decide with whom you want to talk to. And if you're able to arrange that or luck into that, then you are in charge of trying to make them feel comfortable, collecting the information that you seek. It also helps you prepare for a job hunt in ways that we will discuss later. But basically, this is done by making contacts, becoming a recognizable name, and gathering intel. Lastly, networking is important throughout your career to find new contacts and maintain meaningful career relationships. But ultimately, networking is the best tool to find work. Okay, just checking the chat box here. So moving on to talk about elevator speeches, an important technique that is a networking technique or tool of networking, I guess is a better way of putting it. And so what do I mean by an elevator speech? You're likely asking yourself, do you mean making a speech about the Otis Elevator Company? You mean the American company founded in 1853 that develops, manufactures, and markets elevators and related equipment, the very same company that pioneered the development of the safety elevator, which used a special mechanism to lock the elevator car in place should the hoisting ropes fail? No, I'm not. I'm actually not talking about the Otis Elevator Company. I don't know if that would make this a better or worse webinar, but I don't know. I guess it depends on your interest in the history of elevators, but an elevator speech is a clear and concise message or ad about you. It communicates who you are, what you're looking for, and how you can benefit a company or solve their business problems. Typically about 30 seconds, the time it takes to ride from the top to the bottom of a building in an elevator or bottom to top. The idea is that you are prepared to share this information with anyone at any time, even in a cramped little elevator. Once you've nailed it down, rehearse your 30-second elevator speech with a friend or in front of a mirror. The important thing is to practice it out loud. You want it to sound natural. Get comfortable with what you have to say so you can breeze through it when the time comes. Some questions to help you craft an elevator speech. So introduction, describe yourself and your work. What problems have you solved or which contributions have you made? Think of a vivid example of an achievement. Think of a special service, product, or solution you can offer an organization. What are the advantages of working with you? How are you different from the competition? Do you have business cards? Who is your target? How do you help a business make a profit? And do you have a special approach to a business or client service? After you've written these thoughts down, it's time to start editing, cut the jargon and the details, make strong, short, and powerful sentences, eliminate unnecessary words, memorize key points, and practice. The most important question of reflection for your audience: have you answered the main question, what is in it for me? If you are targeting different industries or job, you will want to think about crafting different versions for different business situations of your elevator speech. So some examples. Nice to meet you. I'm Ann Potts. I'm currently a senior studying management information systems. I hope to become a computer programmer when I graduate. Had a couple of internships where I worked on several program applications with a project team. I enjoy developing computer apps for simple business solutions. The position you have listed in Handshake seems like it would be a perfect fit for someone with my skills. I'd like to hear more about the type of project teams in your organization. Another example. Hi, my name is Ernest Hudson. I'm a senior environmental sciences major. I'm looking for a position that will allow me to use my research and analysis skills. Over the past few years, I've been strengthening these through my work with local watershed council on conservation strategies to support water quality and habitats. Eventually, I'd like to develop education programs on water conservation awareness. I read that your organization is involved in water quality projects. Can you tell me how someone with my experience may fit into your organization? Lastly, last example. Hi, my name is Harry Ramus. I'm currently a sophomore student with the WSU Global Campus. I'm exploring my options, but plan on majoring in business, specifically in the area of accounting. This summer, I did an internship with the Banshee Hedge Fund Group, and I hope to gain experience in a local credit union soon. Next summer, I'm hoping to get another internship learning more about how the international financial market operates. Ever since I can remember, I've always had an interest in numbers, and I feel certain that this is something I want to do in my future career. So some things that you can do to help you kind of develop an elevator pitch is looking for general occupational information with the Occupational Outlook Handbook or the ONET. So I'll just do a brief tour of the Occupational Outlook Handbook to show you how you can kind of get some information from there to use for your elevator speech. I go into more detail with the Occupational Outlook Handbook and some of my other webinars, but it's a career researching tool compiled by the Bureau of Labor Statistics. Let me go ahead and share that screen now. So that tries to forecast how jobs are either growing or declining or maintaining over the next about 10 years. And so you can search through like different occupational cluster groups here on the left side. There's an A through Z index. You can search occupations with a different search functionality here. I like to just refresh my browser for these and see what pops up. Yeah, financial managers are relevant for global campus students. So I'm going to go ahead and jump in here. And you can see this synopsis, the summary here of all these different tabs here on the top. So what they do, work environment, how to become one, what's the pay like, what's the outlook, some data, similar occupations, and more information. For the purposes of networking, I just want to show you the what they do section. So as you're doing career research, you'll find out more about the duties involved with a given career. So this is where you can look at this specific information about, preparing financial statements, business activity reports, forecasts, monitoring financial details to ensure that legal requirements are met, et cetera, et cetera. You can use this information to help you get content for your elevator speech. So this part's nice because it breaks it down into different, depending on the job, industry areas, types of that occupation. So for here, there are controllers, treasurers, credit managers, cash managers, risk managers, insurance managers. So you can see just different types of this occupation and find relevant information for your elevator speech. How to become one. Also, of course, for a resume. This is information you can use for building a resume. So how to how to prepare yourself to pursue that job, focusing mostly on, you likely have researched the educational path to get there, but what are these important qualities here at the bottom? Analytical skills, communication skills, being detail-oriented, math skills, organizational skills. So these are things you might list on a resume, but what does it mean for that specific occupation? This is, again, stuff you can use for building your resume and for developing your elevator speech. So analytical skills for a financial manager, assist executives in making decisions. They need to evaluate data and information that affects the organization. So, it's not always going to be super specific, but it does break it down to give you some more language for that occupation. And then for the purposes of networking, this more information tab at the end is going to provide you with more information about relevant professional associations, maybe licensing bodies, educational groups, just different groups related to the occupation. So this is a great place to start finding networking contacts. So Global Academy of Finance Management, Association of Government Accountants, Association for Finance Professionals, Financial Professionals, et cetera, et cetera. So that's an Occupational Outlook Handbook. Jumping back over here to the PowerPoint. Okay. Systematic networking, what is that? The 4 goals of networking: 1, getting the word out; 2, gathering information; 3, meeting insiders at target organizations; and 4, getting in touch with decision makers. So getting the word out about your search and yourself, letting people know that you're looking for work, let them know what type of work you're pursuing. If you're currently employed, you need to be careful about whom you tell. Gathering the information you need. We'll discuss this a little bit later and a bit with an exercise known as informational interviewing. 3, meeting insiders at places you'd like to work. So again, this is part of informational interviewing, but a good point to make is to gather information when you can from employers before talking with decision makers, because you'll have a better idea of how and what to communicate to the decision makers by first talking to other employees. And then lastly, getting in touch with those people. This should be a conversation, so don't think of it as an interview. Let them know you are around, qualified, available, and interested. It's best to try to do this in person if possible. So deciding to network effectively by defining what you'll do and what you won't. Preparing, so making a target list, knowing your professional objective and your core message to that person based on what that job is, what that company is, what their mission is. Talking to personal and professional contacts, getting referrals when possible, exchanging information with contacts, keeping records, and keeping everyone informed. And then landing a new job by combining networking with other job search strategies. So staffing firms, job postings, applications, cold calling and emailing, direct mail, and showing up, introducing yourself, networking. So that's that. Some networking myths. These ones, you have to know a lot of people. While larger networks are important for some careers or industries like politics, sales, executive recruiting, but for most of us, it's more important to focus on and use the network we already have. It's all about meeting company leaders and hiring managers. Meeting company leaders, like 6 degrees of separation. You don't need to meet the person at the very top, but rather someone who knows someone who knows someone who knows someone, anyone who leads you to a relevant decision maker. Power networking. This is the idea that you spend time networking every day to get into the exclusive club. That job search networking is really more about community than power. You need to be pushy and aggressive. Some people view networking as sales, but it's really not. It's exchanging information between parties with a common interest. Informational interviewing, I'll talk about. It's a technique of networking. But it doesn't have to be as time intensive, and you can ask broader questions. Networking groups are the only place to network. Often held in churches or community centers or governmental groups, which can be helpful if it's a good values match and you like the other participants. But networking is a person-to-person activity that can be done anywhere, anytime. Networking tools. LinkedIn is, the big one. It's still the number one networking tool. So establishing your presence on LinkedIn, building your LinkedIn profile, slowly over time, connecting with people, searching the WSU Alumni Association on LinkedIn, getting to see if there's anyone who is also a Coug who has a similar either educational background or is working at a place that you're interested in working and trying to connect with them that way. It's a great tool. Cougs First is a newer organization within the last couple of years that is a networking group for WSU alumni. It's a business network of Cougs, and they put on, at least this year, they did a show on the west side in the spring, I believe in Bellevue. And then they did a show in Spokane just a couple of weeks ago. So they try to hit both east side and west side annually. And it's just an opportunity to get out there and meet other Cougars face to face, and for Cougar owned and managed businesses to advertise their company, their services. So or familiarizing yourself with Cougs First is a good idea. I'll jump over there just to show you where it is. I'm not going to go too in depth with it. But just so you know what it looks like, cougsfirst.org. There's a podcast you can listen to. You can join the network. You can try to hire a Coug. You can look for look through the business directory, try to find when they're doing their shows. I'm not sure when the next one will be because the Spokane one just happened. But yeah, check it out. Great networking tool. And I love that they say Google it at the top. So that is just a brief introduction to Cougs First. Go ahead and check it out. You can just dive into the website here. You don't have to be a member to just see what's going on and who's in there. Okay. Informational interviewing, a very helpful tool. I can't stress it enough. Networking tool. These are conversations that you arrange with people who have knowledge and experience in professions you wish to investigate. The strategy is useful throughout one's career. It is used by experienced professionals to research advancement opportunities, as well as workers seeking first careers or career changers. So some of the reasons to do it would be to gain insights and information from personal accounts of the work setting, knowledge and skill requirements and current trends in the field, develop your networking skills and introduce yourself to people in the profession, help you identify how to prepare yourself and work toward a particular career goal, increase motivation in working toward goals, build confidence and experience in interacting with professionals. Remember that informational interviews are different from job interviews, and employers will appreciate your awareness of this. Do not try to misrepresent a request for an informational interview as a backdoor approach for a job search, and that first impressions count just as it would with a job interview. Where to find people. Think about which occupations you are considering in your career planning. Who does this type of work? Where are they located geographically? What types of organizations and firms hire these people? While direct in-person interviewing is best, it's not always possible. Ask friends, families, neighbors, teachers, don't forget about organizational contacts such as the Chamber of Commerce or professional associations. Be prepared, so do your homework ahead of time. Know what kind of information you were seeking. Learn as much as you can ahead about the career field as well as the organization and the work role of the person you are interviewing. You should think through what you want to say about yourself. Be ready to answer questions about your areas of interest, previous experiences, and future plans. Be sure to keep contact names both accurate in spelling and pronunciation as best you can. This includes administrative and support staff who would assist you with any arrangements, and keep records not only of the content of your interview, but also names, dates, comments, and referrals. You may want to have a resume ready just in case it's requested, but often you'll learn something during an interview and you might want to change something on your resume. Prepare a notebook with some of the important questions you want to ask and bring it with you. Have it ready for note taking. Know what it is that you want to communicate about yourself as a potential worker in the field. Follow general good principles of interviewing. After introductions, be sure to discuss the time frame available. Try to emphasize open-ended questions that involve more than a yes or no. Try to take notes and without interfering with the discussion. Avoid inappropriate or too personal questions like personal salary level, marital status, religious background, etc. Some sample questions you could ask for an informational interview. So some that are focused on the person you're interviewing. So how did you get started? What is your educational background? Is your job what you expected? What do you have to know to be good at your job? What skills are most important? What are your greatest challenges? How would you describe your coworkers? What is most rewarding? What is most stressful? Questions focused on the occupation or organization. What are some suggestions for gaining experience? How do people advance through the profession? What are some related occupations? And then, you know, writing a summary afterward once it's done. So during the interview, you might be sure that you'll remember everything, but don't count on it. Writing a summary not only will help you in the learning process, but will provide a valuable record for future activities. So put your notes into the sequence of the interview and complete the thoughts you didn't get to write down, and then take time to reflect on it. What surprised you about it? What did you learn? If you had to do it over, what might you ask? What were your feelings during the process? What were your strongest impressions from the experience? Very importantly, remember that an interview is a sample size of one. So no matter whether the person loved or hated their job, be cautious about generalizing it to the whole occupation or profession or organization. You may have caught the person on a particularly unusual day. It's recommended to interview more than one person, especially in different settings, and if it's a profession of strong interest for you. And then just like you would with an interview, send a thank you note afterward for the person that gave you the time for the interview. So that is a nice in-depth look at informational interviewing. Looping back to move ahead means about going back to the people you've already talked to, giving them a progress report, asking if they have any further information or referrals. Think of being on the other side of things, like a good friend discusses their job search with you, you make a few suggestions, and after a couple of weeks, you want to know how it's going if your input was valuable. Emphasizing little successes and staying positive will benefit you in the long run. Keeping records of interactions with your contacts, sending handwritten thank you notes, Googling yourself, making sure you're not tagged in any inappropriate photos on social media sites. And if you have no internet presence, then be sure to create accounts and complete them as fully as possible online, LinkedIn at the very minimum. Networking groups, as I mentioned earlier, these are commonly found at churches, community centers. If you find one that you like, let others know about your target companies, jobs. Focus on gathering information. Try to arrange future deeper conversations and have business cards ready to go. And I believe that clocked me in there just about 25. So that was pretty much on the nose. Thank you so much for attending and listening to some information about networking. I'll stick around for a bit, so let me know if you have any questions. If you're a Global Campus student interested in career advising at any time down the line, let me know. Send me an email at cmiller66@wsu.edu. There's the Career Support website on the main website where you can also just request career advising. and submit the form there. And then also on the website, I just wanted to shout out the Global Campus career blog. I try to post on there about every week with some kind of virtual career event for Global Campus students. Some of them are career fairs, education fairs, what else? Employer information sessions and networking sessions. So good virtual networking session information there at the blog too, as it comes across my way. So again, thank you for joining, and I'll go ahead and take a look at that chat box there.